Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is David Novak. I've had something on my mind that I want to talk about, and I will reserve that for the end of the video. To start with, I think I will give you a little bit of a life update. This is just going to kind of ramble on. I'm not sure that I will even post this. I may hold it in reserve for posting at another time. Tomorrow is September 1st. I recently put out a call for questions because in a couple of weeks I hope to be filming a Q&A video. So I'm trying to gather in questions. So I ask people to continue with that. I've had a handful so far and I'm hoping for more. About a month ago, not quite a month ago, I had a bit of an injury. Due to various extenuating circumstances, we have been doing some planting at a house in the suburbs. We live in an apartment in Chicago. The house is not our house, but we took it upon ourselves to do this planting. And it has been a fun time for us, taking a yard practically devoid of plants. We managed to garbage pick some from the big box retailer and really got a lot of things in the ground. It also has been nice because here in the city we do not have a large yard, and what yard we have is certainly not adequate for the dogs to run around in. So while we've been going out to the suburbs, the dogs have had the opportunity to run around and cavort and bark at and socialize with the dogs at the neighbors on the other side of the fence and so forth. Well, mine was running around, and I was not careful, and he plowed right into me, knocked me over, and hurt my knee. And I reported on that, and one person who came to see the post said, well, you probably should get it checked out. And I did. I was able to get an appointment within a couple of days' time at the clinic and saw a physician's assistant specializing in the field, that is podiatry, I guess, and had x-rays taken, the results of which showed no great damage. The PA postulated that I had something of a meniscus tear, but nothing to the extent that would warrant surgery. So I was consoled in that nothing major had happened. Now, that is not to say that I was in fine shape, and indeed for a couple of weeks I was still pretty miserable and in pain. Actually, the day after the accident, which she described as something of a game of chicken with a locomotive, we had to drive down to St. Louis to pick up a cat, which we have adopted. And the drive went fine. I was in great stress every time I had to get into and out of the car. But beyond that, just the driving down, it may well have been the best thing I could have done to spare the knee any extra use. Now, almost a month later, I'm doing a lot better, but the damage is still there. And even as recently as, say, 5 days ago, just out of nowhere, I had intense pain. But I rest at ease in the knowledge that I should be improving steadily just by allowing nature to do its course and preventing any sort of re-injury. So that is one thing which has been going on. Now, to get that clinic appointment, I wound up canceling an Alexander Technique session which I had, and I have not resumed my Alexander Technique sessions as yet. I would like to. I have been working out some things, but I won't go into the details of that. My consciousness all of a sudden got focused on the knee. It's very interesting how when one is in pain, things change. I remember Carl Jung talking about a psychotic patient who was under some kind of life-threatening illness for a couple of weeks, and all of his psychoses disappeared for that period of time. Your focus shifts. And then also about three weeks ago, maybe, I just was reading and uncomfortable, and all of a sudden I realized that one of my eyes was unable to see the text on the page. So I was using my dominant eye, and the other eye was just not seeing, or the eye which had the vision was becoming the dominant eye. I don't know if one eye was initially more dominant than the other or not. And I've had eye issues before. And so I did not have the fortune of getting in to see a doctor right away, but I did get to see my eye doctor, well, one of my eye doctors, let's say. And I really didn't expect much, and I'm not going to go into the details of it, but she said, well, I think we can treat this with a little bit of work with the laser. We could see if the operating room is open, and if it is, we can move you over there right away and just do a couple of snips with the razor. Laser, not razor. That would be something. And so that was what we did. And indeed, almost immediately, the vision returned. Now, it was not like I was blind. I was able to see distant and so forth, but just I had no range where I could read words on a page. And so that went very well. And if you've ever had laser surgery on your eyes, this was just the non-thermal type. Thermal laser surgery is a whole nother matter, and I could easily induce nightmares were I to just dwell upon the times I spent in the chair having that. Let it be said that my eyes now seem perfectly fine. So that was another worry that is out of my noggin. So that is how life is going for me. I recently finished reading the Stonewall Reader, published by Penguin, and was real happy with that. I mean, I talked about it a little bit, and I don't think I can really say enough about how broadening the book has felt. And I've thought about checking out something like The Beat Reader, which Penguin publishes, and there's one called the 60s Reader, I think. I've thought about it, but have not taken the plunge. I need to read some of the books that I have, so I've started my apprenticeship, or I think that's what it is, by Gorky. I read my childhood, or whatever, the first book in the trilogy years ago. So that's progressing, but my thoughts tend to remain focused on the situation in the country with the rise of fascism. It appears that The National Guard may be sent here to Chicago any day now. It is hard to say. There has been a pretty good unified front amongst the politicians in Illinois to say we don't need federal militiamen or whatever here to do whatever it is they're supposed to be doing. In Washington, D.C., they're picking up garbage from the parks and stuff like that. I mean, we're pretty clean here in Chicago, so I don't think we need that. And there's really no law enforcement that they should be doing. And just the other day, our mayor gave a speech and signed an executive order saying that Chicago will not be cooperating with federal law enforcement or whatever they are. Chicago police deals with crime, and these immigration folks, ICE and whatnot, dealing with immigration, that's on them. But the police have been directed not to help them. So it could turn into potentially some sort of a combustible situation. But there was a video recently by Tad Stromer talking about it, and he suggests that it's a very important step in the resistance. Resistance requires not just words, such as I have put forth on this channel, but actually hard action. And so he views our mayor's directive, his executive order, a step in the right direction. And our mayor currently is one that I have not had any great hopes or expectations for. But in the fight against fascism, you never know who is going to rise to the occasion, who will step up to the plate. So just as in California, Governor Newsom was not a favorite of mine, but he really has taken the bull by the horns and come out against the fascist coup, which is now being attempted by Donald Trump and his cohort. Our Governor Pritzker, seems to be doing marvelously. I don't think we could have a better man in the position right now, just as he rose to the occasion of COVID. So these are trying times. When I talk about words, I wrote this book in the early months of the Trump administration against fascism. And I recognize my efforts here, possibly more than anything else, as with poetry, serve the cause of posterity. The text provides something for the future to look back at and get a sense of how things went for us who lived these events in real time. I was pretty lucky. Well, let me read a little bit from the introduction. Poetry is an assimilative art or practice. It is very important what one's sources. Early on in writing poems about the fascist rise in America, I found a couple of TikTokers posting on YouTube. As I went along, I found others and drew upon a variety. But still, those initial 2 channels, ... have informed the majority of these poems. it's very important to be careful about what one imbibes in terms of information and the like if one is a poet. And I felt that I had chosen my sources wisely, or really the choice had been made for me just by chance exposure directed by the algorithm, I suppose, of YouTube. And so for the period of 2-3 months that I was working on the book, these TikTokers were indispensable sources for information about what was happening, and also for stances to take in responding to them. And then as events have succeeded events and time has wore on, it has been less necessary for me to follow anybody as devotedly as I did while the book was in process. But just coincidentally, in the past week, both of these TikTokers, or each of them, has had some sort of event or events befall them which only serve to emphasize the danger and the stressfulness of these times. It appears right now that the Donald Trump regime is careening towards some major changes. We don't know if the president himself will survive much longer or not, but certainly it is becoming evident to even his staunchest supporters that he is hardly there at all mentally. Whether he is alive or not is periodically a question on Twitter and so forth. I mean, there is a lot of speculation. We will not know until they tell us that he is dead, if that indeed happens. But beyond that, nothing can be trusted that comes out of this cohort at all. So one of the TikTokers the other day posted something. It was a very creepy thing from a message which had been received, which ended with some kind of lines to the effect that it's very easy to find out the personal details of a social media influencer. And it suggested perhaps some kind of a home invasion or something. I don't know. The post was taken down, and I have not really looked at it, but I mean, I didn't think to take a screenshot of it or anything, so I just have to go by my memory. But the TikToker, after a slim hiatus, came back and posted, and this TikToker is not, and I should say I watch these TikTokers on YouTube. This TikToker is not revealing any of the details at all, but just the sense that I have is that this TikToker and their entire family was under some sort of threat, and almost all died So some kind of incident happened, and I don't believe there is any kind of sort of histrionics here. And I respect this person's privacy. It, of course, for this TikToker calls into question this activity, but they understand, I think, both the necessity of speaking out and also the risks of doing so in this kind of an environment. So leave that there and talk about the other TikToker. There has been a little scandal brewing amongst Democrat Party leaning influencers, in that some of them, and actually it seems quite a good number of them, have been receiving dark money. That is to say, money from sources. The sources are somewhat known now, but under real suspicious circumstances. And this has been going on for a while. There was an article in Wired by Taylor somebody talking about it. I'm sure if you just Google Wired and Taylor, you'll find it. But these folks were receiving up to $8,000 a month, were not disclosing that they were being paid, and as a matter of fact, were under contract not to disclose that they were being paid, and under contract were obliged either to report, either to feature certain topics or to not feature certain topics. And it is not known what those might be, but speculation is rife that they were being led away from any sort of discussion about Gaza, the genocide occurring there, or about, say, the candidate for mayor of New York, Mamdani. So they were being paid to sort of echo the Democratic Party main line, the DNC or whatever. Well, this one TikToker, as I say, whom I follow on YouTube, talked a little bit about it, made a number of videos, and pointed out that this situation, as with, let us say, the Brian Epstein thing, the controversy here revolves around the terms of some contracts, and if all of these creators and influencers are so innocent as they have proclaimed themselves to be in this profusion of videos that they have put out, all that needs to be done is to just release the contracts, just release the documents, and that will settle everything. Instead, they have taken ad hominem attacks upon the journalist who wrote this article, published at Wired, obviously vetted by the legal staff at Wired and so forth. So he has become the subject of a certain amount of antipathy and was, I think, effectively doxxed to a degree that persons familiars have suffered some trauma just based upon being in that proximity with this TikToker. And so one hopes that all goes well, but as the stress levels get ratcheted up, as the fascists become more and more frantic because more and more of the population are seeing through this this detrimental plan called Project 2025. As the pressures get ratcheted up, we can see more frantic behaviors. I mean, I said it might, if say Donald Trump succumbs and takes his exit, we might get to witness some intense power struggles, and it will be very interesting to see, but probably not so interesting to live through. So these are the times in which we find ourselves. And as I say, I relied upon both of these people for this book very much, both in my humble estimation, persons of integrity, and there have been repercussions, or there apparently have been repercussions, which have hit each of them just in the past week. And it might be said, the first case, we don't really know. That TikToker is keeping all of the details mum, as is indeed totally reasonable to expect. But just speculating, it's actions from both the right and the left side of the spectrum, which have really crossed lines, let us say, which should not be crossed. And where this goes, I don't know. But I thought I would just unburden myself about that. Not that I have anything to add. Well, I will leave off here and tack on to the end of this just some real, a tense encounter, a tense feline encounter, but ultimately nothing happens at the end. Thank you for stopping by my channel.